If you're past 60, there's a sweet, innocent habit hiding in your kitchen that could silently set you up for a devastating stroke with zero warning signs, zero pain, and zero chance to fight back. You might go to sleep feeling perfectly fine, only to wake up unable to speak, walk, or recognize your own family. As someone who's spent years studying brain health, I've witnessed too many seniors suffer life-altering strokes that nobody saw coming. Not from cigarettes, not from junk food, not from skipping exercise, but from something their doctors actually recommended: fresh fruit. Yes, you heard that right. Fruit. Every single day, millions of older adults reach for fruit, believing they're protecting their hearts, boosting their immunity, and making the smart choice. While certain fruits absolutely can support healthy aging, others, particularly when consumed incorrectly or at dangerous times, can quietly sabotage your cardiovascular system. They can spike blood sugar dangerously, dehydrate your brain tissue, or create deadly interactions with your medications. The most terrifying part? Nobody's talking about it. Today I'm going to reveal 9 popular fruits that might be secretly elevating your stroke risk, damaging your memory, or even causing dangerous bleeding in your brain, especially if you're over 60. Have you ever questioned whether your healthiest habits might actually be working against you? If that thought has crossed your mind, you absolutely need to hear this information, and I genuinely believe it could save your life. Before we jump in, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I strongly encourage you to do so and ring the notification bell so you never miss critical health information designed specifically for you. If this video provides value, drop a 1 in the comments. If it doesn't meet your expectations, leave a 0 to help me create better content for you. 1. Bananas, the potassium time bomb. As someone who's dedicated their career to brain health, I've encountered my share of unexpected medical emergencies. But nothing troubles me more than the seemingly harmless daily routines that gradually lead to catastrophe. Bananas, as shocking as it sounds, represent one of these hidden threats. You've probably heard the same message your entire life. Bananas are the perfect snack. They're gentle on the stomach, easy to digest, packed with potassium, and even marketed as heart-friendly. For someone in their 30s or 40s, that might hold true. But once you cross 60, everything fundamentally changes, particularly how your kidneys, blood vessels, and cardiovascular system process sudden mineral fluctuations like potassium. Let me break this down simply. As we age, our kidney function naturally declines. They become less efficient at filtering, especially if you're already managing hypertension, diabetes, or taking common medications like ACE inhibitors or diuretics. This means potassium, which bananas contain in abundance, can start accumulating in your bloodstream. What's the consequence? Your heart rhythm becomes irregular. Your blood vessels constrict. Most dangerously, it promotes blood clot formation in areas where blood should flow freely. When those clots reach the brain, they can shut down everything in mere seconds. I'll always remember a patient named Margaret, 68, a retired school administrator from Texas. She was active, mentally sharp, and took great pride in her healthy lifestyle. Every morning, she'd slice a banana into her cereal and take her blood pressure medication with a glass of milk. This routine had been her morning ritual for nearly 2 years. Then, one morning, her husband discovered her collapsed in their hallway. She couldn't move her right side. Her speech was garbled and unclear. Emergency room scans revealed a significant stroke. Her blood potassium levels were critically elevated, disrupting her heart rhythm and triggering clot formation during the night. She had no idea that her 2 daily bananas, combined with her medication regimen, were pushing her body into a danger zone. Here's what most seniors are never told. You don't require massive amounts of potassium, not from supplements, not from multiple fruit servings, and definitely not all at once. A single large banana contains over 450 milligrams of potassium. That's sufficient to disrupt your body's delicate balance if your kidneys aren't operating at full capacity. If you consume that banana at night, when your circulation naturally slows, your hydration levels drop, and your medications are still active, it creates a perfect storm. Rigid arteries, thick blood, and clots that may never give you a warning. So what should you do if you're over 60? Especially if you take heart or blood pressure medications, limit yourself to half a banana daily, consumed in the morning, and always paired with protein like Greek yogurt or nuts to slow absorption. Avoid banana smoothies, banana bread, and definitely don't eat them before bedtime. Most importantly, discuss with your doctor how potassium-rich foods interact with your prescriptions. Your life could literally depend on it. 2. Grapes, sugar bombs in tiny packages. Grapes, sweet, juicy, refreshing, a snack that feels as innocent as a summer breeze. They're always featured on fruit platters, sprinkled in your morning bowl, or served after family dinners with the grandchildren. But what if I told you that for someone over 60, especially those with hidden cardiovascular issues or unstable blood sugar, grapes can be a silent stroke trigger? It's easy to forget that grapes are essentially concentrated sugar wrapped in delicate skin. Each individual grape might appear harmless, but consuming just a handful, particularly the seedless ultra-sweet varieties common in American supermarkets, can deliver a massive surge of natural glucose and fructose directly into your bloodstream. For aging brains and blood vessels, that spike comes with serious consequences. As we age, our bodies become less capable of managing blood sugar fluctuations. Our insulin response slows down. Our blood vessels become increasingly fragile. When sugar levels spike rapidly, it doesn't just stress your pancreas, it causes inflammation within the delicate walls of your arteries, including those that supply your brain. When those arteries become inflamed, they start to stiffen and narrow. Over time, the vessel lining can develop microscopic tears, and that's exactly where blood clots begin forming. You might not feel it happening. It might not show up on routine medical tests, but your body is quietly creating the perfect conditions for a silent stroke. Let me tell you about Robert Chen, 74, a retired engineer from California. He prided himself on natural living. No sodas, no processed foods, always choosing fresh produce. His favorite mid-afternoon snack was a generous bowl of red grapes. He'd munch on them while reading or watching television, sometimes consuming nearly 2 cups without thinking twice. Then, one afternoon, he noticed his vision becoming blurry while writing a letter. Moments later, his hand began trembling, and he couldn't recall simple words. His son rushed him to the emergency room, suspecting a stroke. That's exactly what it was. A transient ischemic attack, commonly called a mini-stroke, caused by a clot that temporarily blocked blood flow to part of his brain. His laboratory results showed dramatic sugar spikes during afternoon hours, and his A1C, a long-term blood sugar indicator, had crept into the pre-diabetic range without his knowledge. Even more concerning was the chronic low-grade inflammation in his vascular system, likely aggravated by years of high-sugar fruit consumption without protein or fiber to balance it. Here's what I need you to understand. Even healthy foods can become dangerous without proper context. When you're over 60, the timing of what you eat and what you combine it with becomes just as critical as the food itself. Grapes digest quickly. They send sugar racing through your veins. If you eat them alone, especially while dehydrated or stressed, your body enters a state where blood thickens, vessels constrict, and clotting becomes more likely. That's why I now advise my older patients, never eat grapes on an empty stomach. Never consume them by the bowlful. Pair them with protein, a few almonds, a slice of cheese, and always limit portions to a small handful. preferably during active daytime hours when your body can utilize the sugar. If you're diabetic or taking blood pressure medications, avoid them entirely unless your doctor specifically approves. 3. Pineapple, the acid and sugar combination. There's something about pineapple that makes it feel like sunshine captured in fruit form. Sweet, tangy, tropical. Many of my older patients enjoy it as a guilt-free dessert after dinner, believing it's light, natural and loaded with enzymes that support digestion. But what most seniors don't realize, and what deeply concerns me as someone focused on brain health, is how this fruit, when consumed at the wrong time or under the wrong conditions, can become a silent stroke risk factor, particularly during overnight hours. Pineapple contains bromelain, a natural enzyme that can break down proteins in your body. In small quantities, bromelain might aid digestion, but consumed in excess, especially when combined with certain medications, it can interfere with blood clotting, reduce platelet function, and lead to unpredictable bleeding or clot formation. For someone over 60 with naturally thinner blood vessels and slower metabolism, that imbalance can have devastating consequences. And let's not overlook the sugar content. A single cup of pineapple contains over 16 grams of natural sugar, causing a rapid spike in blood glucose. Unlike berries or apples, pineapple has a high glycemic index, meaning it floods the bloodstream with sugar quickly. When consumed late in the day, that spike isn't burned for energy. It simply circulates, stressing your blood vessels while you sleep. But the most overlooked danger of all, the acidity. Pineapple ranks among the most acidic fruits in the typical American diet. It can irritate the esophagus, trigger silent reflux, and in some seniors this reflux occurs without the characteristic burning sensation. Instead, it causes microaspiration and nighttime airway pressure changes, which have been linked to reduced brain oxygen during sleep and increased risk of early morning strokes, the most lethal kind. I once treated a patient named Dorothy Williams, 79, a retired librarian from Oregon. She was active, sharp, and deeply committed to clean eating. She had replaced her usual desserts with a few slices of fresh pineapple after dinner. For over a year, this became her nightly tradition. Then, one morning, she woke up feeling confused and disoriented. Her daughter noticed her speech was slurred and she couldn't maintain her balance while walking. A CT scan revealed she had suffered a small posterior circulation stroke affecting her balance and speech. Her blood work showed elevated glucose levels, signs of nighttime reflux irritation, and platelet irregularities. The culprit wasn't one single factor, but a perfect storm created by her nightly pineapple routine. Acid reflux, sugar spikes, and bromelin's effect on blood clotting. So what's the solution? If you love pineapple, enjoy it earlier in the day in small portions and never on an empty stomach. Avoid combining it with blood-thinning medications unless your doctor specifically advises otherwise. Most importantly, don't consume it before bedtime. Your brain needs stability, not surprises, while you sleep. 4. Watermelon. The dehydration paradox. It's hard to find a fruit more beloved during American summers than watermelon. Chilled slices on Independence Day, seed-spitting contests with grandchildren, and that sweet, refreshing crunch after a hot afternoon in the garden. It feels harmless, even beneficial. After all, it's mostly water. But for seniors, especially those with underlying cardiovascular issues or taking certain medications, watermelon can quietly tip the body toward danger, not through sugar or acid, but through what it removes from your system. As someone focused on brain health, I've grown increasingly concerned about how often older adults unknowingly trigger their own stroke risks with foods they assume are safe. Watermelon represents one of the biggest misconceptions. It might seem hydrating, But in reality, watermelon can function as a diuretic, meaning it increases urination frequency. That's not problematic for a 25-year-old. But for a 75-year-old with delicate circulation, borderline blood pressure, or who's already taking water pills or ACE inhibitors, that frequent urination can lead to overnight dehydration, one of the most dangerous silent stroke triggers. Why? Because when your body becomes dehydrated, your blood thickens. Think of it like syrup slowly moving through narrow tubes. Thick blood flows sluggishly, giving it more opportunity to form clots, especially in arteries already stiffened by age. The brain, already sensitive to oxygen changes, becomes even more vulnerable when blood flow slows or gets interrupted. This is particularly true during nighttime when the body's natural circulation decreases and blood pressure drops. Let me tell you about Frank Morrison, an 84-year-old retired mechanic from Arizona. He was doing everything he believed was right, walking daily, avoiding processed sugar, and snacking only on healthy foods. One habit he'd developed was eating 2 or 3 large watermelon slices after dinner to cool down and stay hydrated. What he didn't realize was that he was also taking a diuretic prescribed for mild heart failure. Between the medication and the natural water-pulling effect of watermelon, Frank's body was losing too much fluid overnight. One morning, Frank woke up with severe dizziness. When he tried to stand, he collapsed. At the hospital, his blood pressure was dangerously low and his blood work showed signs of concentrated hemoglobin, a marker that his blood had thickened due to dehydration. Scans revealed a small ischemic stroke, likely caused by a clot forming in his narrowed arteries while he slept. His watermelon habit, it turned out, was doing the opposite of what he thought, dehydrating him rather than hydrating him. The stroke affected Frank's balance and coordination. Though he survived, he now uses a walker and needs assistance with daily activities. A man who just days earlier had been working in his garage. So if you enjoy watermelon, consume it wisely. Eat it earlier in the day and always pair it with electrolytes like a pinch of salt or coconut water. If you're taking diuretics, discuss with your doctor before making it a daily habit. Most importantly, listen to your body. Morning dizziness, dry mouth overnight, or waking up confused aren't normal. They're warning signals. 5. Oranges, the citrus medication trap. Oranges have long represented health in American households. A glass of fresh squeezed juice with breakfast, a bowl of orange segments on the kitchen counter, or the classic orange in a holiday stocking. For decades, they've been viewed as nature's vitamin C miracle. But for older adults, especially those taking heart or blood pressure medications, oranges can quietly become a chemical mixture that triggers dangerous reactions inside the body, including the kind that lead to blood clots and strokes. The problem isn't just the sugar, although one large orange or a glass of juice can send blood glucose levels soaring. It's also a natural compound inside citrus fruits called furanocoumarin, something most seniors have never heard of. Furanocoumarin can interfere with how your body processes certain medications, particularly statins, calcium channel blockers, and blood thinners. What this means is that instead of your body processing your medication safely and gradually, it may either retain too much, causing toxicity, or eliminate it too quickly, rendering it ineffective. That interaction can be deadly, not immediately, but slowly and silently, by creating conditions where blood becomes unstable, arteries constrict unpredictably, or clots form without warning. I once treated a patient named Thomas Bradley, 81, a retired postal worker from Florida. A kind man with a gentle demeanor, Thomas had been taking atorvastatin for high cholesterol and amlodipine for blood pressure. He also prided himself on natural living. Every morning, He'd start his day with a tall glass of fresh squeezed orange juice, his liquid sunshine, as he called it. What Thomas didn't know was that the furanocoumarin in that juice was preventing his liver from breaking down his medications properly. His blood pressure medication was accumulating in his bloodstream, intensifying its effects. Simultaneously, the statin was building up in his muscles and bloodstream, increasing inflammation and affecting his blood vessels. One morning, after feeling slightly dizzy for several days, Thomas stood up from his chair and collapsed. He was rushed to the emergency room with slurred speech and confusion. A CT scan revealed a mild ischemic stroke, and blood tests showed dangerously elevated drug levels, not because he took too much medication, but because the orange juice blocked his liver from clearing it properly. When I explained this to Thomas and his wife, they were stunned. "All my life I thought orange juice was good for me," he said, "and it was once. But the aging body operates differently. What worked at 40 doesn't always work at 70 or 80, especially with prescription medications now in the equation. For those over 60, I now recommend consuming oranges sparingly and never combining them with medications without consulting a physician. If you enjoy citrus, choose lower-risk options like clementines or add just a small splash of juice to water rather than drinking full glasses. 6. Apples, the hidden sugar trap. Apples, the symbol of American health, right? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. You've heard it your entire life. Crisp, juicy and convenient to eat, apples are often distributed in hospitals, included in senior meal programs, and packed lovingly by grandchildren who just want you to stay healthy. But for older adults, especially those over 60 managing blood pressure, diabetes or cognitive changes, apples may not be as harmless as they appear. In fact, the wrong type of apple, consumed incorrectly, can quietly raise your stroke risk by disturbing your blood sugar and vascular stability in dangerous ways. Not all apples are created equal. While apples do contain fiber and some nutrients, many of the most popular American varieties, like Fuji, Honeycrisp and Gala, are bred for sweetness, not nutrition. These apples have a high glycemic load, meaning they flood your bloodstream with natural sugars faster than your aging system can handle. If you eat them alone, especially without protein or healthy fat to slow digestion, you trigger a rapid blood sugar spike, followed by a crash. This sudden surge and drop affects more than your energy. It impacts your blood pressure, vascular inflammation, and blood viscosity. When your blood sugar spikes, your blood becomes more acidic and sticky. Your insulin levels surge and your blood vessels tighten over time. This pattern, repeated day after day, damages the delicate lining of your arteries, including those leading to your brain. Microtears can develop, and when that happens, your body forms blood clots to repair the damage. In younger adults, the system recovers quickly. But for older adults whose vessels are already narrower and stiffer, those clots can become stroke triggers. One of my patients, Patricia Johnson, 83, from Georgia, had been healthy most of her life. She walked daily, took her medications as prescribed, and followed what she believed was a smart diet. Every afternoon, she had a large Honeycrisp apple as a snack. No chips, no cookies, just fruit. What she didn't realize was that she had developed insulin resistance, and those daily sugar surges were overwhelming her aging blood vessels. Over time, she began noticing her vision blurring slightly in the evenings and occasional pressure in her head when she stood up. One evening, while preparing dinner, Patricia lost her ability to speak clearly. Her daughter rushed her to the emergency room, where imaging confirmed a minor stroke. Her laboratory results showed unstable blood glucose patterns and signs of endothelial inflammation. While her medications were working properly, her blood sugar spikes were quietly setting her up for vascular damage. Here's what I tell all my senior patients. If you love apples, choose wisely. Granny Smith apples are lower in sugar and higher in polyphenols, compounds that protect the brain. Always eat apples with a source of protein or fat like almond butter or cheese to reduce the glycemic impact. Never eat a sweet apple on an empty stomach, especially in the evening. Your brain needs stable fuel, not roller coasters. 7. Cherries. The blood-thinning secret. Cherries, small, beautiful and bursting with colour, have earned a reputation as one of the healthiest fruits in the American diet. Doctors recommend them for inflammation and arthritis, even heart health. You'll find them featured in senior wellness magazines, organic food markets, and added to everything from yogurt to salads. But beneath their sweet taste and glowing reputation, cherries carry a little-known risk, especially for older adults who are already taking blood thinners or medications that affect clotting. The danger lies in a natural compound found in cherries called salicylates, a blood-thinning substance that works similarly to aspirin. While this can be helpful in moderation, for seniors whose blood is already thinned by medications like warfarin, Plavix, or even daily aspirin, adding more salicylates from food can push the body over the edge. The result? Blood that becomes too thin to clot properly, fragile vessels that leak, and in the worst cases, hemorrhagic stroke, bleeding inside the brain. Most people never connect this to fruit. It sounds far-fetched, but I've seen it firsthand. Let me tell you about Samuel Martinez, 86, a retired carpenter from New Mexico. He'd had a mild heart attack years ago and was placed on daily low-dose aspirin. He also took a statin and blood pressure medication. Every night he ended his dinner with a small bowl of cherries, nature's candy, he'd call them. He'd read they were good for inflammation and wanted to stay active for his great-grandchildren. At first, there were no signs of danger, but after several weeks, Samuel started experiencing headaches, dizziness, and occasional nausea. One morning, he woke up confused and vomiting. His wife rushed him to the emergency room. A CT scan revealed something terrifying: a brain bleed, a hemorrhagic stroke. Not from high blood pressure, not from trauma, but because his blood had become too thin to clot, and a small vessel in his brain had ruptured. The doctors ruled out medication errors. His dosage was correct, his vitals were stable, but upon reviewing his diet, it became clear the compounded effect of salicylates from cherries on top of his prescribed blood thinners had quietly created a perfect storm. Here's what I wish more older adults understood. Even natural foods can interact with your prescriptions. Your body at 70 or 80 isn't processing things the way it did at 40. So if you love cherries, please eat them mindfully. A few occasionally are likely safe, but avoid cherry concentrate, juice, or large daily portions if you're on medication that affects clotting. Always discuss with your doctor before making something a regular part of your diet, especially something as medicinally active as this sweet little fruit. 8. Strawberries, the pesticide problem. They look innocent, bright red, heart-shaped, sweet with just the right touch of tartness. Strawberries are the picture of health. You see them in hospital meal trays, blended into brain health smoothies, and served at brunches in retirement communities across America. But for older adults, the truth behind strawberries is far less sweet. In fact, this popular fruit may be silently increasing your risk of stroke, inflammation, and long-term brain toxicity in ways you've likely never been warned about. Let's start with what most people don't know. Strawberries are among the most heavily sprayed fruits in American agriculture. Year after year, they top the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen list, a ranking of produce with the highest levels of pesticide residues even after washing. For seniors whose detoxification systems slow with age, those chemicals don't leave the body as easily. They accumulate in tissues, including the brain, where they can disrupt neurological function and weaken blood vessels from the inside out. Pesticides aren't just surface-level irritants. Many of them, especially those used on conventionally grown strawberries, are neurotoxic, meaning they damage brain cells and increase oxidative stress in aging neurons. Over time, this weakens the structural integrity of small blood vessels, particularly in the brain's white matter, the very areas most vulnerable to strokes, memory loss, and cognitive decline. But the risk doesn't stop at pesticides. Strawberries also contain purines, natural compounds that break down into uric acid in the body. For individuals with a history of gout, kidney disease, or vascular inflammation, elevated uric acid can spark inflammatory responses that trigger narrowing of blood vessels, increased blood pressure, and blood clot formation. One patient of mine, Helen Richardson, 78, from Wisconsin, had always loved strawberries. She picked them fresh every June, froze them for winter smoothies, and ate a handful after dinner because they're healthy. She had mild hypertension, was on a diuretic, and occasionally struggled with joint pain. Over time, she began experiencing dizziness in the mornings and joint swelling that wouldn't resolve. One morning, she awoke with numbness in her right hand and slurred speech. A CT scan confirmed a minor ischemic stroke, and her laboratory results showed elevated uric acid, signs of oxidative stress and low-grade inflammation. A slow-burning process likely fed by years of exposure to pesticide residue and purine overload. Her strawberry habit, meant to protect her health, had become a subtle daily dose of risk. So what should you do if you eat strawberries? Make sure they're organic every single time. Wash them thoroughly. Don't eat them daily and never rely on them as your primary source of antioxidants. If you have gout, kidney issues, or take blood pressure medications, ask your doctor before adding them to your regular diet. 9. Mango, the tropical sugar bomb. To many older adults, mango feels like a tropical indulgence, a reward for making healthy choices. It's soft, fragrant, and naturally sweet. You'll find it sliced in fruit salads, blended into smoothies at senior wellness cafes, or dried and packaged as a healthy snack at the grocery store. The bright orange flesh seems like nature's dessert, and for many, that's exactly how it's marketed. But for seniors, especially those managing heart conditions, blood pressure, or taking multiple medications, mango may be a silent saboteur, one that raises stroke risk in ways few doctors ever mention. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Mango is one of the highest sugar fruits in the American diet. Just 1 cup of ripe mango contains nearly 45 grams of natural sugar, more than the average donut. Unlike complex carbohydrates, the sugar in mango is rapidly absorbed, leading to sudden blood sugar spikes, followed by insulin surges and crashes. For seniors with insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, or unstable blood pressure, this roller coaster effect can place enormous strain on blood vessels, especially those in the brain. But there's more. Mango doesn't just disrupt blood sugar. It also contains natural compounds that interfere with how your liver processes medications, especially medications used for heart rhythm, cholesterol, and blood pressure. One of those compounds, mangiferin, has been shown in some studies to slow down the cytochrome P450 enzyme system, the system your liver uses to break down many prescription drugs. When that system slows, medications build up in the body, increasing the risk of overdose, side effects, or interactions. Let me share the story of Arthur Thompson, 85, a retired teacher from Ohio. He was proud of staying active, daily walks, balanced diet, and always trying heart-healthy options. A few months ago, he started eating dried mango slices every afternoon, thinking it was a smart switch from cookies. He was also taking medications for high blood pressure and atrial fibrillation. After a few weeks, Arthur began noticing episodes of lightheadedness in the mornings. One day, he collapsed while getting out of bed. His wife found him pale, confused, and with a slight droop on the left side of his face. At the hospital, scans confirmed a minor ischemic stroke. Laboratory tests revealed his blood pressure had dropped too low overnight, and his medication levels were abnormally elevated despite taking the correct dosage. The daily dried mango had overloaded his liver, interfering with how his medications were processed. The sugar spikes were compounding the problem, creating the perfect environment for clot formation. This is why I urge older adults to reconsider tropical fruits like mango. The sweetness masks its danger. It's not just the sugar, it's how it interacts with the aging body, slowing metabolism, and the complex web of medications that so many seniors rely on. Final reflections. Protecting your brain in your golden years. After walking through these 9 fruits that may seem healthy but can quietly raise your stroke risk, you might be feeling confused, maybe even a little betrayed. You've been told all your life that fruit is nature's medicine, a gift from the earth, something you can always trust. But the truth, especially for those of us over 60, is more complicated and far more important to understand. Aging changes everything. The foods you ate at 30 or 40 no longer affect you the same way. Your kidneys filter more slowly. Your liver processes medications with less efficiency. Your blood vessels become more fragile, less flexible, and your brain, the most delicate organ of all, becomes increasingly sensitive to fluctuations in blood pressure, blood sugar, and clotting factors. That means every bite matters more now than ever before. Many older adults with the best intentions unknowingly build routines that put their brain at risk. A banana with medication, a bowl of grapes as a snack, pineapple after dinner, a tall glass of orange juice in the morning. These habits are so familiar, so ordinary, they don't raise suspicion. But under the surface, they can trigger a cascade of changes, silent, invisible and slow, that increase inflammation, stiffen arteries, thin the blood too much or not enough, and in the worst cases, form blood clots that block oxygen to the brain. But here's the good news. Not all fruit is dangerous. In fact, some fruits, when chosen wisely and eaten with care, can be powerful allies in protecting your brain, your heart, and your independence. So what should you reach for? First, berries. Blueberries, raspberries and blackberries are low in sugar, high in antioxidants, and rich in compounds called polyphenols, which protect blood vessels and reduce inflammation. They don't spike blood sugar, they don't interfere with medications, and they support memory and circulation naturally. Second, green apples. Like Granny Smith. Unlike their sugary cousins, these apples have a lower glycemic impact and contain brain-protective flavonoids. Eaten with a small piece of cheese or nut butter, they provide gentle energy without the crash. Third, avocados. Technically a fruit, though many forget that, they're rich in healthy fats that help regulate blood pressure and support nerve function. They contain potassium, yes, but in a form your body absorbs slowly without the sharp spikes of sweeter fruits. Fourth, lemons and limes. Used not as snacks but as flavor enhancers, they support liver detoxification and digestion without delivering sugar or interfering with most medications. A squeeze in water can wake up your system gently and hydrate without harm. And most of all, timing matters. Eat fruit early in the day, never on an empty stomach, and always paired with a source of protein or healthy fat to slow down absorption and minimize spikes in sugar or drops in blood pressure. Never eat fruit right before bed. Your body is winding down, and that's when blood circulation is at its lowest. A spike in sugar or acid at that hour can tip the balance, and you may not feel the damage until it's too late. Let me be clear, this is not about fear. It's about respect for your age, your body, and the quiet signals it sends. You are not fragile, but you are different now. That doesn't mean you have to stop enjoying life's sweetness. It means you have to enjoy it wisely, with the knowledge and dignity that comes from a lifetime of experience. You've made it to this chapter in life through perseverance, wisdom, and care. Don't let a simple habit, a fruit you never thought twice about, become the silent thief of your health. Every choice, even a snack, can bring you closer to vitality or further into risk. So read your labels, ask your doctors, think about what's on your plate and what it might do inside your body, not just today, but weeks or months from now. Because the truth is, you are not just eating to live anymore. You are eating to stay sharp, to stay standing, and to stay you. And with the right knowledge, the right fruits and the right timing, you absolutely can. Stay wise, stay watchful, and remember, your brain is listening to everything you feed it. Feed it the future you deserve. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. Your feedback means everything to us. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.